everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we are going to be doing the analysis / commentary on episode 16 of Miraculous Ladybug season 4, Hack-san. Now before I go any further, as always, it's been ages since I've filmed one of these, but as always, if you haven't seen the episode yet, I'm about to spoil the full thing for you. So if you haven't seen it, I will try and find some links below where you can watch it with the subtitles. But please know, if you're watching this several weeks from now, those links will eventually expire as the videos get taken down for copyright. So, my quick thoughts on this episode. Before I say anything else, I feel, and for what I've seen from comments on Twitter last night and this morning, and Tumblr from last night and this morning, and also my own YouTube comments section, I feel like there's going to be a big split between people who really enjoyed this episode and people who really didn't like this episode. And I am in the group of people who didn't like it that much. Don't get me wrong, this wasn't a bad episode. This was not like the worst episode of Miraculous Ladybug I've ever seen. It was unwatchable, nothing like that. It was still a good episode. I think Alia did an absolutely amazing job. Mark was great to see. I really liked a lot of things about the episode. There were a lot of things in this episode that I did like. However, the things that I didn't like, I can't get past. And honestly, I mean, I was a bit unsure when I watched it last night because it was in Portuguese and I can't speak Portuguese. But when I watched it, I've seen it about 3 times this morning. Every single time I watched it, knowing exactly what happened now, I've come away feeling underwhelmed and kind of disappointed. And it largely wasn't really to do with Alia using the Ladybug Miraculous. It was more to do with Marinette, the treatment of Cat Noir, and the ending, the final scene of the episode. But we will get to the ending when we get to the end of the video. As you know, with these videos I like to do them in chronological order, so don't get me wrong, I don't think this was a terrible episode. There were just some things happening in the episode that I was kind of unsure about and I was left feeling a bit disappointed. Maybe a lot of the points I'm going to make in this video will be clarified when we see episode 15, because I'm aware we haven't seen episode 15, and also maybe when I see the episode in the English dub as well. Maybe that'll help with what I think of this episode, but as for right now I've only seen it in Portuguese, so I can only commentate on the Portuguese version of the episode. However, if you do disagree with everything I say in this video, that's completely fine. I'm not expecting the majority of people to be on the fence of disliking this episode. I'm expecting most people to have liked it, but I guess I would just ask you to be respectful and at least watch the entire video so you understand my opinion, instead of just hearing me say I didn't like it that much. I mean, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. If I really hated it, I would have given it a 3. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was bad by any means. There were just some decisions in the episode I wasn't happy with, and as someone who is a professional writer, I guess I just wanted to talk about it. So we will be going chronologically through the episode, but we're going to start with one of the problems I had, and that's with Marinette at the start. So in the trailers and from the synopsis, it wasn't clear if she was being forced to go to London or she was really looking forward to going to London and having a break. And as we see confirmed in this episode, she was being forced to go to see this relative she doesn't even like that much. So I was like, okay, so she's not being forced to go, because I thought, okay, maybe she's giving Alia the Ladybug Miraculous because she needs a break, she wants a break, she's feeling too tired. I could understand her doing that. But that's not what happened here. She wanted to stay and she wanted to be Ladybug. And to me, this just wasn't an emergency enough to give it to Alia without telling Cat Noir what she was doing. You know, like, she was just going on a holiday. She didn't really want to go, so it was just... The whole setup of the episode was just a bit of a no for me. I only really feel like it works if there was a true emergency. I only feel that giving the Ladybug Miraculous to someone else other than Marinette or Adrian only works if it's a true emergency, the same way it worked in Reflector, because it was an emergency. They couldn't find their original holder, so they had to give it to the other one. It was an emergency because they couldn't tell them apart. That wasn't the case here, and if she'd planned far enough in advance, she really would have had the time to tell Cat Noir about this. So yeah, now we've had the premise of the episode confirmed instead of just vaguely through trailers. I'm not all that happy with it. And again, I'd also like theorised in other videos I made about the trailers, like, well, why can't she just escape like we saw in Star Train, for example, go to the toilets and transform and use the Horse Miraculous to get back to Paris? Well, we saw her manage to escape to the toilet, so yeah, she could have done it. So yeah, I guess I just wouldn't have had her manage to escape. I would have just had Sabine and Tom get her right away as soon as their phones got infected. I don't know how to explain it. It was an odd decision to show her being able to escape, when in that case, if she's kept the Miraculous, she would have been able to transform and get the horse Miraculous out of the yo-yo and go back to Paris and sort things out. And then she could have used the horse Miraculous to get back on the train after the Akuma battle ended and gone in the toilets and then come back out. You know what I mean? So it was definitely an odd choice to show that she did escape, so it wouldn't have mattered if she didn't give the Miraculous up, if that makes sense. Like, this episode showed that Marinette still could have saved the day as Ladybug, essentially. They should have just had it where she didn't manage to escape and her parents got her, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Am I making sense? But I just feel like they should have got her straight away instead of showing her escape so that she could have done something. I don't know. But that first part with the train, when the Akuma attack starts and showing her that she really didn't want to go, it's messing with me a little bit. But anyway, next part, all the Kwamis in this episode were super adorable. All of them together in Marinette's room are really cute. Then we had Trix in Tiki together. Trix was hilarious. Trix is a he, right? Yeah, I think Trix is a he. He was so cute being jealous. And then we also had Dusu and Nuru. We never hear a lot from Dusu, but oh, Dusu's so cute as well. I really loved their interaction. Nuru, I love Nuru. Never get to hear from him though. So I really enjoyed those parts. And another part of the episode I really did enjoy, but like, don't get me wrong, like I said, this isn't a bad episode. It's 7 out of 10. There were some really good parts of this episode. Another part I really enjoyed is when Marinette's on the train and she's texting Alia all these instructions, and one of these standout instructions is, if he tells a joke, make sure to laugh even if it's not funny, because it makes him happy. And it definitely communicates to the audience that she definitely cares about him. Yeah, she is leaving him in the dark, but that doesn't mean she's doing this because she doesn't care about him. I know what she's doing is hurting him, however I am 100% certain that she's not doing this with the intention of hurting him. You know, we've all done this, we'll do something and it hasn't been with the intention to hurt someone, but it inadvertently ends up hurting someone and you apologise. And even though it's not your intention, you have hurt them. It happens all the time, I've done it, I'm sure you've all done it as well. So I know she's not doing this to hurt him, which did make me feel happy. I mean, I've always known that, like, Marinette's not like that. But it just made me happy to show, like, yep, she really does care about him. And I know it was only a very small moment, but it did make me, really happy. So now let's talk about Hakusan, and I really liked the way this episode was. I was a bit confused from the trailers. Obviously they were trailers, they're meant to kind of confuse you. So I was a bit confused how this worked. I thought like they'd managed to put the Akuma in the drive and it kind of affected Markov that way and got him akumatized through there, which wouldn't make sense. And obviously that wasn't what happened. They created an amok to essentially give Markov a virus and make him go really mad and angry, and they would use that kind of manufactured anger to akumatize him, which I really liked the idea of, and I was like, wow, it's a really cool way to akumatize someone by creating a specific senti monster to rile someone up. And then I realised as I thought that, oh, they did that in Octogami. Like, that's what happened with Senti Alec. So it's like, oh, okay. So they've done it twice this season, and I do think it's a really unique way of akumatizing a certain person, like, for whatever reason. So I can see maybe Shadow Daddy and Natalie being like, okay, we've got this very specific plan in mind, we need this really specific Akuma, we need to get Chloe or Lila or Nino, I don't know, akumatized again, so we need a very specific senti monster in order to rile them up. I really like that idea, I just hope they don't overuse it. I can definitely see them maybe doing it in the finale, definitely. I really like the general idea of that. However, this was a bit of a hole, I guess, in the plot of this episode, and there's not usually a lot of plot holes in Miraculous, this was one of them though. When Markov gets akumatized, Shadow Daddy says Hakusan being destroyed is the only way you will end it. Because even if they de-akumatize Markov, he would still be infected by the virus from Hakusan. However, when they de-akumatize him, he's back to normal. If you don't know what I mean, there were kind of like 3 forms of Markov in this episode. So like the first form was his normal form where his eyes are blue. The second form was the infected form, the virus form I guess, where the eyes were red. And then the third form was Robustus, where the eyes are red and he's all green. So to me, because they didn't touch the amok in the episode, Alia or Adrian, they didn't touch the amok, so when they de-akumatized Markov, surely his eyes should have still been red because he still would have been infected with the virus, so then Shadow Daddy could re-akumatize him because he'd still be angry. No? Did anyone else think that? Because I did, and to me it's not really making sense because he said it won't be over until Haxan is destroyed, and then Shadow Daddy went and destroyed it after they de-akumatized him. So it really all hinges on that one line where he says it's not over till I've destroyed Haxan, which obviously Alia and Adrian can't get to because they don't know where it is. But that was a bit of a weird choice of a line. Maybe I'm just overthinking it too much, maybe. That's possibly the case. But that was a bit odd as well. And this is just a really personal thing, but I was really disappointed that Mark didn't say Nathaniel was his most prized possession. It was their manga, their comic. I was just a bit like, first of all, okay, people aren't possessions. Sabine needs to be sold, that so does Tom. So in a way I was glad he wasn't going for Nathaniel because he viewed Nathaniel as a possession. But I was also like, I thought this was going to be confirmation of the two of them. I mean, like, to me, I think it is kind of canon they're together. I remember reading a tweet about Thomas Astruc where he said like Rose and Julika were together, but the only reason you don't see it together in the show is because obviously it would get banned in some other countries that don't support couples who are gay, which isn't really representation if you can't even show it. I understand that, but I was hoping it would be more of a confirmation of the two of them. So that made me sad, but that doesn't make the episode bad or anything. Just a personal thing. I love Mark, he is my son. I thoroughly enjoyed all of his scenes in this episode, apart from the one where Alia kicked him, pushed him, and he fell over. Didn't enjoy that part, but again, that's just something personal because of my love for Mark. So now let's talk about that scene where Chat sees Alia using the Ladybug Miraculous the first time, and I think her name, is it Scarabella? Like scarab as in scarab beetle, and then like Ella on the end. I think that was the name she settled with. I'm not even sure how to spell it, to be honest. I don't think it's gonna be like scarab beetle and then Ella on the end. So let's go to that scene when they're on the rooftops. And I think his emotions in that scene were entirely justified. If I had been him and I was in love with Ladybug and this is a different Ladybug, I would have been like, you've obviously kidnapped her, stolen her Miraculous, you're a sentient monster, you're a supervillain. I think he was entirely justified. I enjoyed seeing him be so protective. I thought it was very sweet. I also liked how he said like, what did you do to my lady? That was very cute as well. Then Alia was like, hey, nope, she gave it to me, she trusts me. And then he said Ladybug would have told me if she'd done that. So I was really glad he got angry about that. To be honest, I was glad he got angry about it because Ladybug didn't tell him. But I mean, I know it would have aroused suspicions now after Rocketeer because he ends up finding out that Alia is Rena Rouge. But if maybe she'd opened with, hey, I'm Rena Rouge, you can trust me. I don't know, like I understand the way Alia showed it, like, hey, I've captured you, I'm not taking your Miraculous, obviously I'm not a villain. Okay, but I feel like if I had been him, I still would have been skeptical and I would have wanted further confirmation. But again, on from that, I'm not sure her saying that would be a great idea because we saw in episode 14, Senti Bubbler, he wasn't all that happy with her telling him, this is a two-person job and we don't need you, and he got pretty annoyed with it. So maybe that was a better decision. However, I did like how at the start when they were first started fighting together and Alia hears someone shouting for help and he's like, no, it's a trap. The other Ladybug would have known. He had more experience, so I did like how he at the start was taking charge. He has more experience being a superhero. He's been one for a lot longer at this point than her, and he has also used the Ladybug Miraculous before, so he does know what he's talking about. So I'm glad he did take charge at first, and I'm also glad that Alia wasn't really pushy. She was really respectful of him. I think overall Alia did a great job in this episode, and I really liked the way the Akuma battle was solved and stuff, especially with the help from Marinette. I really liked the whole Akuma amok thing in this episode. I thought it was executed really, really well. It's the relationship aspect of this episode that let it down a bit for me, because I think this has the potential to be a great episode, to be honest. So obviously they go in the Grevin Museum, and Chat Noir is trying to, you know, he's getting more on Alia's side, he's trying to find out why exactly she was given it and not him. And he questions, do you know Ladybug's identity? And she's vague about it. She doesn't say yes, but she also doesn't say no. So yeah, we'll come on to that more later when we get to the ending, so just put a pin in that for now. So also, right, when I was watching this episode last night, they're in the museum, and obviously I don't speak Portuguese, so I didn't find this out till this morning, but I was like, why do all of these wax models have phones? Like, the person who made them was like, oh, I'm gonna have to, you know, make sure all the models have a fully charged and working real phone at all times, just in case they come to life and need help. So I was a bit confused last night. Obviously I watched it with the subs this morning, found out they weren't wax models, they were pretending to be wax models, they were actually real people. But last night I was kind of like, am I seeing things? I know it's late and I know I didn't get much sleep the night before, but I was just like, why do a load of wax models have mobiles? That was kind of funny to me without the translation. I wish they'd kept it like that, because it would have been funny if the wax models had done it and then they could have had the wax model of Adrian as well. It's a shame they didn't do it. Anyway, so the next thing I want to talk about is Shadow Daddy and how unconcerned he is with the new Ladybug. He was just like, oh, she's a newbie, oh, she'll be easy, we can get the Miraculous, it's no problem. Why didn't he question why there was someone else? Like, Chat Noir did, your son did, why didn't you question it? Why aren't you questioning what that means? Does it mean something's happened to Ladybug? What does it mean about the relationship between the other Ladybug and this new one? I feel like you should have questioned why just a bit more. When I say a bit more, he just should have done it in general, because, you know, he was questioning it in Optigami and Sentibubbler and he was starting to get somewhere. He was on the right lines. But he just didn't ask the questions. I don't know, maybe he's saying, well, I was about to say maybe he's saving it for the next episode, but we know he's not saving it for Rocketeer and we know he's not saving it for Wishmaker. So maybe he's waiting until 19 Simple Man to really start questioning why this other Ladybug was used. But why didn't he? I'm not really sure, and I think maybe you could argue was due to lack of screen time in this episode. However, I have a resolution for that, is that the first scene showing all the other classmates at the park, when you had the three couples at the back, then we had Alex and Kim racing, I would argue you don't need that first scene at all. The episode, in my opinion, could have started with Marinette being in bed and her going to the train station, then she calls Alia to go, and then Alia straight after that goes to the park. You don't need that other park scene first. You just could have skipped it entirely, which would have given you probably at least a minute and a half. I'm not sure, I'd have to look back at how long the scene was, but it should have given you at least a minute and a half of extra screen time, and you could have used half of that for Shadow Daddy and Natalie to maybe start questioning who this other Ladybug was, and then you could have used the other half to add on to the ending, which I'll talk about when we get to the ending. We're nearly there. Like I said, this episode was really good, but the things I didn't like about it are really standing out to me and are making me feel kind of disappointed and underwhelmed about this episode. And with that being said, I really enjoyed how when Alia got the lucky charm, she didn't know what to do, and Chat Noir was motivating her like he did to Ladybug back in like Origins and some of the first episodes, like we saw in Miracle Queen when she's not sure what to do. He is there for her emotionally, and it just leads me to question why on earth didn't Ladybug confide in Chat Noir at the end of Ganga's Secret? You know, she could have done it without having to tell him her identity. She could have just said, hey, I'm struggling as the Guardian, I need more support from you. And he would have been there for her. I know he would have been there for her. He is always there for her, as shown in this episode. Like, even though it made him sad, if using a new hold is what Ladybug wanted, then he eventually went with it. Even though she hadn't spoken to him, he is there for her through thick and thin. This boy, she doesn't deserve this boy, okay? I feel so bad for him. So yeah, like I said, I really liked the way the Akuma was solved. However, if I was Chat Noir, I would have completely accidentally cataclysmed the earrings, because I'm a bit stupid. However, after Markov emptied everyone out, why did Chat Noir come back with a pan on his head? Did I miss something? Why was there a pan? I didn't really understand that. But I really liked how Marinette ended up helping in a ladybug nature. As Adrian said at the end of season 2, she's our everyday ladybug, so I really liked that way about it. So honestly, Marinette's lack of screen time in this episode didn't really bother me. Honestly, no one's screen time in this episode bothered me. They all got a decent chunk of it. That wasn't my issue with this episode. And speaking of my issue with this episode, let's talk about the ending. So first of all, Ladybug did apologise, so thank you. So she apologised for not telling him. And now this next bit's kind of confusing me, because does she tell him about the identities? Because she says, right, if I knew you had revealed your secret identity to someone, I would be sad. And obviously we see in the Grevin Museum, he does question if Scarabella does know Ladybug's identity. She doesn't say no, but she doesn't say yes. She's very vague and says, you need to talk to Ladybug. So she doesn't, so to me, she definitely doesn't confirm or deny that she knows it. However, I'm not 100% sure this scene was confirming or denying it either. Like I said, this was the Portuguese version with the subtitles, so maybe I need to wait until the English dub comes out. But it was very odd wording that she used to tell him that she had told her identity to someone else. I guess because this has been building up since the end of episode 3 to now, this is episode 16, that's quite a while. I do feel like his reaction was very underwhelming for something they have been told since day one. You cannot tell anyone your identity. They have had that drummed into them and he hasn't told anyone. And he said he wasn't upset by it. So I'm not 100% sure if that's what she was confirming in this episode, because I feel like his reaction was incorrect, essentially. He seemed fine with it and he shouldn't be okay with it. He has been asking and asking and asking for her identity, to find out who she is, even just some facts about who she is when she's not Ladybug. And I feel like him just being a bit sad isn't the correct reaction. We saw how angry he can get. I feel like he should be angry with her. Like he got angry with Scarabella, he just seems really reluctant to get angry at her. And he's obviously in love with Ladybug. He doesn't want to be angry at her, I'm pretty sure. But it just seemed like the wrong reaction. And again, because we have seen episodes 17 and 18, I feel if that's what had happened, he would have mentioned it in those episodes. So that's why I'm saying this line is really odd and maybe I need to wait until it comes out in English. But because he didn't mention it in Rocketeer or Wishmaker, I'm thinking that's not what she's told him. It was worded really oddly. Like, do you think that she told him that she told someone else her identity? Because it was such an oddly worded line. I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm really not sure. So, I don't really know what to think. I am a bit confused because... Let me just try and work this out. So she said, if I knew you had revealed your secret identity to someone, I would be sad. So first of all, why do you get to reveal your identity to someone? I don't know. It's really hypocritical of her to say that, to be honest. But it's just, the thing that's getting me is that it's not matching up with Rocketeer and Wishmaker. His reaction at the end, whilst it's a lovely image, and the animation in this episode was lovely as well, I think. I'm not an expert in animation and I have bad eyesight, but it looked good to me, but all the episodes look good to me. It doesn't match. The ending of this episode doesn't match Rocketeer and Wishmaker. Because in those episodes, Adrian is, for lack of a better word, borderline depressed about being left out all the time. So the last line of this episode, Kitty, I will never abandon you. Very sweet, I absolutely loved it. But it doesn't match how he's feeling in episodes 17 and 18. If I was him and she had told me she was never going to abandon me, I would be feeling marginally happier than I was in Rocketeer and Wishmaker. You know, it just doesn't match. These episodes, they don't match up, if that makes sense. I know we have the hindsight of being able to know what happens in Rocketeer and Wishmaker before we saw Haxan, but I think I'd eventually say the same thing if I rewatched them all in order. The ending of Haxan does not match what happens in Rocketeer and Wishmaker. Adrian is quite literally depressed, and he doesn't understand what he's done wrong. He's losing faith in Ladybug, but he's obviously quite happy with what she says. You can tell I'm confused, you know what I don't get it. I don't really get it at all. So he kind of starts to feel useless in 17 and 18. And I know we're missing 15, and I'm pretty sure Ladybug and Cat Noir are meant to have an argument in 15 from the scripts that were leaked that we're not supposed to talk about anymore. But I feel from the ending of Hakusan, their relationship in Rocketeer and Wishmaker should be different, in that first of all, Adrian shouldn't be as sad as he is, and second of all, he confides in Ladybug a bit more. So this is why I'm so confused about this ending, and again, like I said before, if that's what Ladybug had really confirmed, that she had told her identity to someone else, because she never explicitly says, yeah, I did tell her. She doesn't ever say that. Maybe I'm just watching the incorrectly subtitled version, but I don't think I was. Ladybug doesn't say, yeah, I told someone else my identity. She's really vague about it and just said, I'd be sad if you told someone yours. But I feel like something as big as that, he should be first of all getting angry about it, and second of all, he would have mentioned that in Rocketeer and Wishmaker. So, I don't know. If this really was the moment she was telling him, I have told someone else my identity, this reaction was the most underwhelming thing I've ever seen in my life. I was expecting it to happen in a more outrageous way, in that she would eventually, for whatever reason, have to tell him, and he gets angry. And he didn't. Just, yeah. The ending just doesn't fit to me, and like I said, if they'd taken out that park scene, they could have given a bit more time to this, so maybe you could have had that reaction, or they had a longer discussion. Yeah, so overall, let me just try and condense that, because I know I said a lot of things, I probably repeated myself. So Ladybug says, if I knew you had revealed your secret identity to someone, I would be sad. So she doesn't explicitly say, yes, I've revealed my identity to someone else, but it does kind of hint at it. So it's not ultimately clear if she does say that. And if she does say that, his reaction is extremely underwhelming. Why isn't he upset? He should be upset. He wants to know who she is. She is the girl of his dreams, and he doesn't get to know her identity. And he's not upset about that. He's upset about something else. So I find that hard to believe. And in Rocketeer and Wishmaker, he doesn't mention that he's aware of that. His sadness in those episodes are entirely related to how she is sidelining him. So, I don't know, I just feel like if he knew, he would mention it in one of those episodes. I feel like we'd all already know about it. So I'm not 100% sure it actually happened, but what do you think? Do you think that's what she was saying? Because to me, she didn't explicitly say, yep, someone else knows. I think I've talked about this enough. So overall, 7 out of 10. I do think it was a good episode, don't get me wrong. Alia was great, Mark was great, Markov was great. The scene at the end had a lovely animation to it. It was lovely. And I also really liked seeing a load of the Kwamis as well, particularly Jusu and Nuru. My problems were mainly with Marinette, Chantelar, and the ending. MVP of the episode is Alia, with Mark coming in a close second because he is my son. How can he not be the MVP of the episode? Mark was great in this episode, but so was Alia, obviously. I just love Mark. Nothing against Alia. If it was Julika using this Miraculous, if it had been Mr. Damocles using this Miraculous, yeah, they probably would have won MVP too. But because Mark had such a starring role and he did such a good job, I love him. He will always be a close second in my heart. Even in the episodes he's not in, he's still a close second. He's the MVP of the show straight after the Eiffel Tower, you know what I'm saying? And the best line of the episode was quite obviously the last line of the episode. Kitty, I would never abandon you. But do you know what I mean? Her saying that as the last line is not matching up with how Adrian feels in 17 and 18. The ending of Hakusan doesn't match with how Adrian is feeling in 17 and 18. And I'm not happy about it, essentially. Anyway, rant about the ending of this episode over. I did really like the episode. I'd love to know what you think, especially about the ending. Did you or did you not think she told him that she told someone her identity? Because I'm not even sure it happened, just because of his lack of reaction and him never mentioning it again. If I was him, like after the end of Gang of Secrets, I couldn't stop thinking about the ending of Gang of Secrets for weeks. Like, if this was him, something he's wanted to know for ages, why hasn't he mentioned it? I really, really want to know your thoughts on the ending of the episode and of course the rest of the episode, but particularly the ending. If you have strong opinions either way, whether you disagree or agree with me, that's fine. Just please be respectful in the comments section. If you love this episode and think I'm crazy for saying what I said, then that's fine, that's your opinion, but please just be respectful. So the only thing I didn't talk about was Alia's outfit, and that's because on Friday I'm going to do a whole video breaking down the outfit, analysing it, comparing it, all that fun stuff we like to do, because as you all know, I have an interest in fashion. And all the comments are going to roast me for how I'm dressed today. I like this outfit. Sweater vests are in. I like this sweater vest. Okay, so that's all I have to say about this episode. I'd love to know what you thought about it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!